Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of My Beautiful Chaos with Misty Fitch of Fearfully Made Ministries. Matt and I recently had a few episodes where we talked about kids and technology. It's such a hot topic right now. It's such a big thing that's on the parents' minds. Like, how do we control it? What do we need to do? And we all have those questions. We all have those concerns. And I will say, if you have not listened to the first two parts, I would suggest stopping right now and going back and listening to them first so you can kind of see background before I go into what I'm about to go into, because otherwise you're going to have a million questions. I'm a firm believer that there's no such thing as a coincidence. I believe that God has his hand in everything, even things that are meant to be harmful to us. I feel like God has his hand in and can use for good. And I do not feel at all that this is coincidence that this happened right after we've done these episodes. So if you are a friend of mine, a personal friend of mine, then you probably already know what I'm about to tell you because I mentioned it a couple of days ago. And by the way, it's just me today. Matt's not here. I'm debating on bringing my son in later. We'll see. The other day, he was still asleep, but I saw a notification come across that someone who I've never heard of had started following him and had commented on one of his posts. And I couldn't tell what it said because I don't go in and look at the notifications until either I'm beside him or I know that he's checked it and then we can talk about it. I'm not the first one to go in and read it, but something didn't seem right about it. There were a couple of things, you can see the first few words, and I just didn't feel good about it. And then I really had a lot of red flags when I saw he was requesting to send a private message, and then he liked another post, and then he requested to follow me, and it just, something didn't feel right. My husband said he also requested to follow him. Apparently this person requested to follow everyone that was connected with my son. And when my son woke up, I told him, I said, I want you to open your Instagram because I want to know what was the comment that he said and what was the message he was trying to request to send. And do you even know this person? Because it shows that he's from a whole different state that's not even kind of close to us. And he didn't know the person. The comment was very rude and hateful. The only purpose was to be mean and bring my son down. Again, this is someone who does not know my son, has never met my son. I don't even know how he found him. But first, I want to say that I was so proud of how my son responded because I see grown adults who can't let something like that slide because it still happens as an adult when people just want to bring you down. And I see grown people who respond in the same manner as the things that have been said to them. He didn't do that. He just brushed it off. It was kind of like, okay, that was kind of his response. So I told him how proud I was of him that he didn't engage in that conversation. But I said, you need to block this person. He didn't feel yet that he needed to block this person because he is about the followers. And again, if you have not listened to the first or second part, please do that so that you're not thinking, oh my gosh, she's giving her kids too much freedom or whatever. Just go back and listen. I promise there's a process for what we do. So I stayed on him about it. Like, just we talked. When I say I stayed on him, we constantly talked because I would see that this person would like other things. And apparently, at one point, he said something about his age. Kind of, I'm older than you, so you need to listen to me. He's 16, whole different state, doesn't know my kid. My kid doesn't know him. My kid is 13. So he just kind of said, okay, way to go, or something. I don't remember what he said. He said, congratulations, or something, when he was making a big deal about being 16. Come to find out, yesterday, my son started getting some messages from his friends. Everybody was basically saying, oh, he's following me, or he requested to follow me too. And then it started coming out about some vulgar things that were being sent to some of the girls. And they sent my son screenshot. And so I took screenshots. I looked for this kid's mom. I'm not even lying. I went to Facebook and Instagram. I tried to find his family because I want them to see the things that he's doing, but they may know. Who knows? I don't want to veer off because there is something I want to say about that, but I don't want to veer off. So once my son started getting messages from his friends yesterday, we started talking and he said, I'm going to block him. And that's why I said it's important to let them have those decisions. There are times that I've seen someone that I know is not, my gut tells me it is not somebody, a grown man who has pictures of only boys on his Instagram. I'm going to block him. I'm not giving my son the option. And then I'll tell my son I blocked him and this is why. But that's extreme cases. Something like this, I needed him to be able to make that decision because I need to know he's 13. It really isn't that long until he's going to be on his own. I need him to know that, or I need to know that he can make those decisions without me saying, this is the decision you need to make. And I hope that makes sense. So that's why when he said he wasn't ready to block him, I let it go because I'm still monitoring. Remember, I'm still monitoring. I'm seeing what's happening. But as soon as he was hearing that things were being said to his friends and some inappropriate things were being said, he was ready to block them. I told him, I said, why don't you report and then have all those friends report him and maybe it will get him off of Instagram because there's no telling who all he's doing things like this to. He doesn't need to be on Instagram. That may be too extreme. I don't know. But he went to report him today and he no longer has an Instagram account. So I say all of that and I'm going to go back because there have been questions that are asked that I want to address. And I would love to hear your feedback. This is what I do. One of the first things that people said to me was they didn't understand why people who he didn't know were able to follow him. And I get that. And at first, when he had his first social media, it had to only be people that he knew personally and has seen face to face. And I had to follow them as well. And he knew that if they didn't allow me to follow them, then he was not allowed to follow them or let them follow him. So we started baby steps. But here's where we are now. He has a public account. There are reasons that I have allowed that. So there are people who follow him that he doesn't know. And I get the reason for protection. And the people who have asked that, I don't know where they are with their kids and social media. But like I said, we started that very exact way. But at some point, there has to be growth and a little more freedom because at some point, our kids are going to be on their own. We have to know that they can make the right decisions on their own. They can't do that if they go from being 100% monitored, locked down, shut down all the time into freedom. Because I'm telling you, nothing good is going to happen if that's the way it is. So, this is our happy medium. So, yes, there are people who follow him who do not know him. And he is really good about saying, you know, somebody sent me something. I wasn't very comfortable. I blocked them. And he'll show me what was sent. And that has happened a few times. And I love that he will come and talk to me about it. Another question people started talking about, well, I know that you monitor, but what about all these fake accounts? You know, there are all these kids who have fake Instagram accounts or they have Snapchat and they're not supposed to, or they're not even supposed to have Instagram or whatever. One, again, I think I mentioned this in an earlier one. We have something on his phone that we can tell what apps he's downloaded, and I can block them if I don't like them. I know he doesn't have the apps on his phone that he's not allowed to have because I would see them when he downloads them. So the next question is what about and the fake accounts. The thing is, you got to trust at some point in time. You have to give a little bit of trust. But again, I've mentioned before, He knows I can look at his phone anytime I want, and I do. So I see what Instagram accounts are there. I see what he has. And he can be on his phone, and I can say, "Give me your phone," and he hands it over. And one thing that makes me feel more confident that he doesn't have these accounts is because he has never argued with me about giving the phone over. When a kid is fighting you, not wanting to give you the phone, or there's a hold on and they're doing something on their phone, guys, y'all need to understand that is a big, fat, red flag waving in your face. There is no reason a kid should tell you to hold on when you're telling them to do something like give me your phone. And there is no reason the kid should be throwing a fit or crying if you take their phone. That phone needs to be taken away and it needs to not be returned for a while, because if nothing else, that's showing some kind of addiction to the phone that has occurred. But you need to be looking through their phones if that's happening. Let me also stop and say my kid is not perfect. So please don't hear that either, because I'm not saying he's perfect. But I am talking right now about the positives that we have seen. So the question I got, what about school issued devices? Because kids are creating accounts through school issued devices. Okay. Well, one, we have never been at a school where there's been school issued devices. So I've never experienced that. Plus, now we homeschool. But I also used to teach. You are the parent. And I don't know when our minds changed to where we felt like other people had to give us permission to do things with our kids. That's not true. You're the parent. You're the one who decides what's best for your kid. Don't depend on someone else to tell you what's best for your kid. So you as a parent can go to the school and say, my child is not allowed to be on any school issued devices. But when you do that, if you know that they need a computer or they work on a computer in a class, then you need to have a laptop available for them that you're able to monitor, and that's what they take to class. Schools have to abide by that when you, the parent, make this decision. And I've never known anyone to give a problem with it. So you just go. If that's an issue with your kid, if you're afraid that they're going to be making accounts on social media that you have told them they can't have, then don't allow them to have access to that at school. But on that same note, y'all, if that is such an issue, if you're so worried about your kids, whether they've given you reason or not, if you are so worried about your kids having fake accounts or downloading apps that they're not supposed to, or just being deceptive, that is a heart issue. That is something you need to get to the bottom of. You need to figure out what's going on with your kid that they feel the need to sneak around and do this. Again, I am not saying my kids are perfect. We have had our fair share of issues that were heart problems, and we had to stop, because you can discipline and discipline and discipline all you want, but you cannot discipline that heart problem out of them. You have to find out where it's coming from. I think that's the extent of all of the questions I got, and I hope that you've enjoyed this message. I hope you've been able to take something from it. Remember, you can always email me if you have some ideas for topics or if you have questions or feedback for any episodes. Bye, guys. Thank you for joining My Beautiful Chaos this week. If you have any suggestions for topics or questions you would like answered on an upcoming episode, email me at mybeautifulchaos@email.com. See you next week.